modeling, training, or swimsuits, or creating my talent. It was just constantly being in the mindset of, um, you can win this, you can do it. And I want to tell a quick story because this was another thing, and I can't wait till I get to do this for someone. So Michael J. Valentine, I've known him since I was like 16 years old. Like, so he's been really a part of my life for a long time. And when I made that top 5, I remember we saw each other in October and right after, and he gave me his Continental trophy. And I remember it saying Mr. Continental 2016. And he was like, I want you to put this on a shelf in your room, and I want you to look at it, and I want you to envision, I want you to hold it, because you need to get this feeling of this is possible, like you can win this thing. And I remember I like thought he was crazy for doing that. And like, I always meant to send it back to him. And I remember sending it back to him like in July. I brought it to his when he won All-American Gent. And I gave it back to him. And he's like, well, you've not won yet. And I said, I know I'm going to win. Like, I'm already the winner. Like, I don't need to keep this thing anymore. And that was just the coolest thing about Continental is they're just such a family. Like, we like when you win, and like not even like winning, just when you're a part of that Continental system, like you are a family. Like, they're your brothers. Like, they have a big saying of like, my brother's keeper. And like for Michael to do that, because when I was 16, I came on like a whim. I did so good. He was like, I want you to like have this and just, give it back when you win yours, because I know you're going to win yours soon. Like it meant so much to me. And it really helped me like get ready for the process of like, I'm like kind of like going around in circles with my words, but like, formal wear and swimwear and talent, people get so caught up in that stuff. And the thing you really need to prep for is the win. You need to prep for, I can win this thing. It's all in here, because everyone's formal wear looks the same. Everyone's swimwear looks the same. We all about do the same thing in talent. It's who's doing it with conviction, and who's selling it, and who's pushing it forward, and who's reading on their shirt, I'm the one, pick me, I'm the winner. And, that was the hardest part, but I was so fortunate to have mentors and friends from the Continental system that like were able to help me do so.
Well, when I first watched you in the first pageant, you were very different in this pageant, and because you were very focused, and I could tell the difference in a major way. You shifted totally. And what else I liked is, and I know that's why the Continental system chose you, is because you weren't that cookie cutter person. That's like you said, a lot of them are doing the same thing in the same kind of format and everything. And you were very different. And that is sometimes the key to what winners, are made of, is that they're different and they do things outside of the box. And that's what I liked about your talent. I watched it. And
thank you.
I thought it was fantastic. I did my research a little bit. I didn't want to dig too much, because when she sent me the format of what she wanted me to ask you, I said, well, I want to change this and change this because I want it to be more relaxed. If it's more relaxed, she had a very structured way.
Right.
She wanted to focus on what I was just talking about, the straight thing and all that. And I thought, no, we're going to talk about the system and your journey in the system. And you're doing perfect. So
Thank you.
I want to say that I like the fact that you were determined, and I could see that from the very get-go this year. Now, number one, how does it feel to be in that room? How does it feel?
I couldn't let my nerves get the best of me. And like a lot of people say, because Continental, one thing is Continental, my favorite system of all time.
Mm-hmm.
They're not contestant friendly for a reason, because this is a competition. We want the best of the best. This is not about you. This is about the brand of Continental. That's right. There's a lot of other competitions that, they give you all the time in the world, and you're sitting there for 6-7 hours watching it. Like Continental is done well under 3 hours, done. Mm-hmm. So it's like boom, boom, boom. So they let the stress of that and the stress of being on that stage, because for the longest time, Continental was like the only system that was like actually on a stage. Now all these other brands are, rebuilding and, going to event centers and getting out of clubs and going to theaters. And I feel like that makes such a huge difference. But Continental is like known for that stage, and it's known for the system that's on a stage. And there's no other stage like that Park West stage. I mean, you're in there with 12 to 1,500 people, jam packed, screaming and hollering for you. And you can't let the nerves get the best for you. And I was like, that was another thing. I was like, I can't lose, because I literally have over 200 fans and like 65 guests that I personally invited and brought, my 65 people. Like, when I tell you I spent a lot of money on my package, it was not like what you saw on the stage. It was like, I wanted people there to see it. Like, I wanted them to experience greatness. And like my grandfather, which that's a whole other story that I'm going to tap in a little bit on. He's been on a plane twice his entire life. And one of them was to come to Continental. And he's never seen a drag queen. He has no idea what transgender is. So he was like fully educated and learning. And that's what I loved about him, because it's like, you know, how we're raised is typically how we turn out. And that's not in his case. You know, he was, you know, he's like 65, 70 in there. I don't know how old he is. I probably should know. And, you know, he really came from a time of like, if you are not at the freaking altar repenting for your sins every single Sunday, like, you're going to burn in hell. So like, don't even get started on like drinking drugs and, you know, being gay. And, you know, my older brother actually does identify as gay. You know, my younger sister identifies as binary, and he loves us, and he is so supportive of every single thing we've done. He's been so supportive of my career as a dancer, me, and all my relationships with whoever I'm with. And for him to be like, he didn't come to Continental the first time, and he heard all about the rave from my mom and dad and grandmother. He was like, I gotta come watch that. I gotta watch you win that thing. And for him to come, it was just such a special moment. So I was like, I can't mess this up. Like, I can't lose in front of all these people, and especially someone that like has never seen a drag queen before and now knows what a drag queen is, because he wanted to see me win Mr. Continental. So it was a big moment. It was huge.
Well, you know, it's fantastic that your family is such a great support system, something that we all need right now. And the fact that you had that, you know, I say this all the time to people. My parents were amazing to me, even though they knew I was gay from get-go. And then when I started transitioning and doing all different kinds of things, they never mentioned anything about that. They were just amazing to me, and I miss them both too. And I think to this day, it's great when you have a support system like you have, and like many of us have, and to see family and friends sitting in the audience at your win must feel incredible.
You know, a lot of people go back and they watch the tape of me winning, and they're like, your reaction was so different than anyone else's reaction. And they related it to two other people. They said, I've not seen anyone else have that reaction but Antoine Steele and Sir Valentino. And, you know, everyone else, when they win, they get so excited and they're jumping up and down and they're running all over the place. And we three, when we won, we literally broke down. Like, we literally immediately went here. And that's what I love that I studied about the system, is just that moment of when your name was said. I can't tell you how many times on YouTube I've watched like Joey Taylor win, Michael J. Valentine, Antoine Steele, Kalia Valentino, all of them. And it was just, it means so much. Like, I can't even explain. Like, if you've not done a pageant and you're watching this, like, join the Continental family, because they treat you like family no matter what place you end up, and celebrate your progress and your goals. Because the one thing I love about Continental, they make it a big deal to make the 12, and they make it like you're it if you're in the 5. So celebrate your goals. If you're best non-finalist, you know, celebrate that you were so close to making that 12. Or if you were 6th place, best, you know, non-finalist of the 5, celebrate that. And that's what I've told all these people. That's the problem in pageantry. People lose and they get bitter and they want to go somewhere else. And I'm like, stick with the brand of the system that you believe in and celebrate your success, because life is not about competing against each other. It's about competing against yourself. And did you do your best? And that's like what I fully stand by. And I was out there with 18 other boys, and I did not compete against anyone but myself. And, you know, I did it.
Wonderful. It's wonderful that you say that. You know, when I was talking to Miss Continental Elite, she actually did the show, and she said,
I love her.
She said something very, very similar to what you just said, is that, you know, you have to be prepared mentally. And she told me, just like you just said, I knew I was going to win. I knew I was going to win. I had put it in my mind I was going to win. And you said the same think. And this just goes to show you, great minds think alike. Um, and like I said, is in the long run, I never thought I could do this. But then when I start looking at it, I go, I can do that. I can do it. I can't believe it.
Good at it.
Look, yeah, I can do it. So I think, like you said, is when you put it in your mind, you can do almost anything.
You know, I'm very spiritual and I listen to a lot of services. And one of my favorite pastors is TD Jake and Stephen Furtick, and they spoke together. And one thing that they said that like I share with everybody is like, if you could write it in pencil, you can weld it with steel. And that's so important. If you can envision it and imagine it in your life, like I love that, and I'll actually send you a link to it. But the other thing he talked about is he was like talking about when he was in the safari, and he talked about how like the lion's defense mechanism was like roaring, and you know he put the fear of life in everybody, and the elephant was so big, and its defense mechanism was throwing its weight around, and the cheetah could run like the wind, and the eagle could soar so high, and he was like, you know, God, like what'd you give me? Like what's my defense mechanism? And God said, I gave you a brain. The
Mhm.
problem with everyone in life is we think God or the higher power like works in a sense of building tables, and it's not. God makes trees because you have to envision it. You have to imagine what it could be. You got to imagine what your package could be. You got to imagine what your talent could be. You got to imagine this. We look at how far we have come from a species. Like no other species on this earth has done what we've done, put satellites in space, touchscreen phones, skyscrapers, you name it. And that all comes from the imagination of right here. So this is your defense mechanism. This is what's going to get you to win the contest. It's all right here. You got to imagine it, and that's what creates it.
Well, you know, it's amazing that you say that. I just have a few more questions for you, and you've done fantastic. You've educated me a lot about, you know, I can see the passion and the determination in you. And that is something that we all need, that confidence, that thing that says, I can just do it. And you have that. And so I congratulate you, Mr. Continental.
Thank you.
You know, and you're a beautiful man to look at.
Oh,
So I'm sure all the girls in the back are going, I'm sure they're all looking at you. Now, I want to ask just a few more questions about some things that I saw online in the pageantry forum. Now, what do you think? Now, some of the girls were talking about the men who are femme in the swimsuit portion of Continental. I'm sure you've heard about that.
yeah, I have. And, you know, I always say, like, and this is a speech to, you know, the more feminine men. It's like, you know, don't hate the player, you know, you
Mhm.
can't hate the game. This is, you know, this is what it is. Continental spells it out right what they are. And, you know, Continental's not for everybody. But that's the cool thing about the rainbow. You know, it's not, you know, the rainbow's not made of just the color red.
Mhm.
Continental wants this. This is very clean cut, very all well-rounded, you know, man, and like we're not making fun of them. We're like I support them cold-heartedly because you know who you are. And there's other systems out there that, you know, entertainer of the year, I've seen people get out there and sissy it around and work their stuff
Mhm.
and they kill it and they love it and they win. So like, you know, find a home that celebrates you. You know, don't come to Continental knowing, you know, Continental, like they're very straightforward. I could say there are some systems out there that say, oh, we want new, we want this, we want that. And then we bring them new, this and that, and they stick to what they really want. Continental leaves it at the
Mhm.
door. This is what we want. This is
Good.
our brand.
Perfect.
And I support that. Jim has put his life in this. And what this man wants is his right to have. And that's what we have to respect in this industry. You know, it doesn't mean we're not going to accept you and let you come compete, and we're not going to celebrate you, and we're not going to this or that. But you know, as a judge in Continental, they have the most qualified judges of all judges. Um, you know, they have their criteria sheets, and they have those sheets that you can get copies of and look what they're judging off of, and they're looking off fit, cut, how you model it, how you execute it, your presentation of it. So you know, if you're doing too much, in that, I don't think they get points off because they're being sissy. I think they get points off because they're doing too much and they get caught up in the modeling and they lose their tempo in their walk or their poses because they're so caught up in their scarf or their jacket, or their swimsuit cut doesn't fit them right, or that cut's not right on their body. You know, I had a lot of training for Continental on swimsuit because even me, I'm like, oh my God, like what kind of cut do I need to wear? Like, you know what I mean?